When I was leaning center right, the arguments I would get from the left were actually valid. I rarely got called names. I wasn't made fun of for how I look. Now that I'm on the left, I'm noticing a lot of the right's arguments are high school level teasing. And the reason I wanted to discuss this is because, yes, it kind of seems like I'm being a bit more like, well, the left is great and the right are awful. I am pretty biased myself because I am a left leaning YouTuber. But I was also on the center right at one point, and just listening to the arguments that were given to me, they are completely different in comparison to the arguments that I get currently from the right. And I had to mention this because I find it super interesting. And this is my personal uh, experience. My experience will be different from other people's experiences, of course. I've gotten to many arguments with various different people. I've been in arguments with people that were libertarian, that were progressive, that were far right, etc. But there's a different way it comes across, and I just wanted to talk about this a bit. So to get into a little bit more detail, I wanted to talk about what my YouTube channel was like before this and how I ended up getting there. And I spoke about this a little bit before, but since there's people that are not aware of my channel from years ago, that they're only starting to watch it now, you're going to be in for a shock. So I used to call myself centrist queen. It's so unfortunate. It's pretty embarrassing to even talk about it. But I called myself centrist queen. And I used to have a channel where I got influenced by people like Blair White. I was influenced by Shu. I was influenced by obviously Hunter Avalon at the time. I was influenced by Roaming Millennial, all of these people, because I wanted to do political commentary in a similar fashion as to how they do it. I even watched Andy Warski. So at the time, I took a political test, and it turns out that I was a centrist from what it gathered at the time. And I was having very similar views to the people I've been watching. And this was around the time Trump became president. And because I didn't know too much about politics, and even today I'm not like a whiz at it, but I was very unaware of how things worked back then. And I saw the amount of people screaming at the sky, getting so upset over Trump getting into office, that it was laughable. At the time, it was very laughable. And I just thought everyone was losing their minds. And here comes across these people that I've been watching online that were saying, oh, calm down, there's nothing that's going to happen, he's not going to take away people's rights, etc., etc. And the way they came across was so eloquent, and it just made me feel like I can believe in it. I really believed that nothing was going to happen. I thought that people were just losing their minds over this. And again, I've discussed this before. This is how they come across. They come across very like, they talk in a well-respected manner. They're not yelling at people, and they make the left-leaning people look like they're yelling at people all the time and that they're screaming at the sky and everything. And this was constantly pushed on us when we were on YouTube. Like, I was always on YouTube. I ended up watching a few videos from Blair White, Shu, a bunch of other people, and that's the kind of content I got. It went into getting recommendations to watch Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Feminist Cringe, all these types of videos. And that does something to people, like if I'm a bilingual person. If I constantly watch videos in French, my English will just have issues, just like it's doing right now. But that's what happens. And I felt like the same exact, I can make a kind of similar comparison to how politics were viewed online, especially on YouTube, is that you constantly get these types of recommendations, and it warps your shape of view, like with everything you've been watching. So you start to believe that there are a bunch of radical feminists that are screaming at people and saying that men should die, because that's what you're actually seeing. So I just want to say what's up to in the chat. So Hello. um, yes, I've spoken to many people that were in this particular phase, and I'm glad they got out because it's just looking back at it, I cringe so much, and I'm still cringing just speaking about this. But I felt like it was important for me to mention this today because uh, I used to mention it a lot more in the past, actually, because I started to shift my views at one point, and I'll get into that a bit later to explain exactly how that happened. Howdy. Um, but before I do that, I just wanted to mention that was pretty much the type of videos I was making. I was making videos where I was taking articles from everydayfeminist.com and looking at how silly the arguments placed were. So I was taking that and making videos out of it because that's what the people I was watching were doing. The exact same thing. They weren't talking about policies. They weren't talking about that kind of stuff. They were just taking articles, things they have heard, and making fun of it. And I wasn't taking it very seriously myself. The reason I actually started my channel is because I wanted, first of all, I actually thought of starting a totally different type of channel. I wanted to create a makeup channel. Worst decision I could have ever made because I suck at makeup, as you can clearly see. I'm not a whiz at that, so that was a fail. And at the time, I was just unaware of the. I just started seeing how the political discourse was, and even a family member told me that I'm apparently far right or something like that. And I never considered myself far right ever. Even when I was in that phase, I never went that far. But listening to that was just, it made me feel like I was being put on display in a sense of like, uh, I felt connected to the other people that have been called that. And I think that's what's happening to a lot of people. They hear that they someone told them that they're racist, even though they're not. Or they might just be misinformed on something, and they take that and go, "Oh my goodness." I'm listening to people like Ashton Whitty say the exact same thing, and I'm just like, "Wow, I'm connected to you because I too was called these things that I'm not." But as I progressed into this, I realized that in actuality they were being racist. But I felt like I was very misinformed on things, and it was really disturbing. So that was the type of content I was doing. Now, to get into how I got out of it, um, first of all, I was a huge Jordan Peterson fan at the time, to the point where I was critiquing anyone who and that's why I say it's pretty much a cult, because any type of person that, even if it's fair criticism, I was just on them like, how dare you guys criticize Daddy Peterson? And I ended up having a lot of people watch my content that were huge Jordan Peterson fans, and they were happy that I was a Jordan Peterson fan. They were calling me like the Lobster Club. And I think about a month went by. I was so busy. I don't remember exactly what I was busy for. I think it was a lot to do with work, a few other things in my life, that I didn't have enough time to watch uh, watch the new content that Jordan Peterson was producing. And I had some more time during that particular moment in my life to do some self reflection on a lot of things. And when I got back on Twitter, I started seeing these arguments being presented by Jordan Peterson fans that were just not clear, or that I just simply did not agree with, and I had a slight disagreement with. Now, it's a long time ago. I can't be precise in what exactly the arguments were, but it just so happened to be like that. And just having my slight criticism that I wanted to put forward, they were doing the same thing I felt exactly what I was doing in the past. How dare you criticize Daddy Peterson? And that led me to thinking, this doesn't really make any sense. I mean, sure, we can have like these disagreements, we can have a discussion with it, but I feel like people are being a bit too uh, kind of like, if a religious person is around you and you're criticizing God, it really felt like that. So that's not the only thing that happened. Actually, there was a few people that were making it very clear to me that, and that's why I think it's really helpful to have people beside you that are willing to, at least in a friendly manner, criticize you for things that you're doing wrong. And at one point, I was doing a whole Charlie Kirk thing where I was going, well, oh, look at the radical left doing this, and someone pointed out to me that, hey, by the way, you shouldn't be doing that. Uh, like you're doing the exact thing that other people are doing to people like you. Why would you want to do that? Like if I'm being like the radical left, I wouldn't like it if everyone's like, oh, the centrists are like this or the right is like that, and I'm like, I didn't like it at the beginning. I felt like I was being attacked, but they made a good point. And the truth about people in any type of political side, but especially on the right, it seems, they don't like that criticism. They feel like they have to be in a little hive mind mentality, and that's what people like Dave Rubin are going through. People like Ariel Scarcella, they feel like they have to have that type of in group. And even at one point, I spoke to someone that told me that they were upset with someone that we mutually knew because she was idolizing a far right racist. Now, I asked that person, well, wouldn't you have a conversation with them? Like, wouldn't you want to uh, just at least make them aware that the person they're idolizing is not a good person? And uh, their answer was, I don't want to lose my friendship. Now, this is a very serious issue. And I feel like that is not just on the right. This is like so many different places. People are afraid of losing their friendship with people if they have a slight criticism of that person, or they just mention something like this. And thinking back on people like Kathy Zhu, who actually called out the racism she was getting uh, from the likes of Nick Fuentes' party, look at how she was treated after. You know, the minute when she put on a MAGA hat, when she was this like, I'm an Asian Trump supporter and facts don't care about your feelings type of mentality, she was embraced with open arms. But the minute she actually called out something that she had a very she was within her right to call out, they just flipped on her. And that's the kind of thing that frustrates me. It's because it's like some sense of community, some and it's not really a positive community. It's a community full of people that, oh, if you don't agree with us, you have to leave. So the minute people like Dave Rubin will come out and say, oh, this is actually truthfully, factually wrong, and you're being homophobic towards me, they'll be like, oh, he's just being a snowflake. So it just goes from like them telling people that the left are calling everyone racist to actually believing that racism has to only be a person spitting on a black person, let's say, and going, I hate this people. I want you dead. Like that's the only thing they think racism truly is. Because I think any other thing beneath that is just trolling. And I never believed that. I think that was clearly a stretch. I think racism can take many forms. You don't have to actually commit some type of violent um, um, type of like thing to actually get people to consider you racist. So I just found it really interesting how, I guess you can say the term, they became the very thing they hate. So that was going through my mind a lot at the time. And I remember I actually spoke to Angie at one point. Angie's a good friend of mine, and I'm just thankful that she stuck by me this entire time because she was mentioning to me. Actually, I was speaking to her saying that I was afraid of being a conservative. And I actually felt like I was going more and more towards conservatism because I actually agreed with a lot of things that the people I was watching on YouTube felt, the people I was like looking at on Twitter. I actually felt that I was going that way. And looking back at it now, it's a pretty interesting thing to say you're afraid to become something. It's like, if you're afraid to become that, maybe something's telling you that that's not a good thing. That's not something that's really you. So I found that really interesting. Now, at the time, I was being very conflicted, but I continued to make videos. I continued to post things on Twitter. And during I know in a lot of people's minds, people like Hunter Avallone, it seemed like it just came out of nowhere. That's not true at all. It didn't come out of nowhere. We can continue posting things, but our minds can be changing with that time, and that's exactly what happened to me. My views were changing for several months, and it took a lot of I wouldn't even call it courage. I don't think I can even imply it as courage. But I actually just came forward and made a video. I think two videos, a live stream and an actual video, if I'm not mistaken. And even made a post on Twitter stating that my views have changed. I expressed that I'm no longer a Jordan Peterson fan because of XXX reason. Um, I am I no longer believe in this because of this. There's a few things that were a bit conflated in my views. This is the reason why. I really put that effort into putting this together. And there was a few people that stuck by me, actually, but there was a few other people that, even one person that said I was some kind of traitor, that I was, uh, that I did something wrong. Like, they're making me feel like I was a bad person because my political views changed. And and it's interesting how my views didn't change to something that was uh, concerning. It's not like I suddenly became the I want everyone to die political party. It's like, no, I actually want. I'm an empathetic person. I believe that people have equal rights. This is like the type of things I had in my mind. So it's pretty interesting how I'm considered a traitor, or I'm considered a bad person because I want people to be equal. So I found that really interesting. And turns out that particular person ended up being a nationalist. I've had friends that I used to speak to that became nationalists. And it's kind of hard to look back at it. It's scary how many people can. It's interesting that this never happened to me. I guess I'm not that gullible in a sense. In a way, I was, but I never went that far. I knew something was off. And when I was seeing people like, I even got into the idea that Tommy Robinson wasn't such a bad guy, and there was this whole huge like uproar, and I really started to believe that. And then when I looked into it, I was like, oh boy, he's actually a very violent thug. People like Lauren Southern, I used to watch her anti-feminist views, and that's all I got out of her. And then only recently I saw that she made a book called Barbarians about how immigrants, boomers, and all these other people have ruined a Western civilization. And I'm just like, wow, I had no clue. And it's interesting. Like, a lot of people, I'm pretty sure, don't have a clue. They're probably watching these people, and they're not even recognizing that a lot of these far right views are just being like slithered into their lap. And I still argue with a lot of leftists or something, and I don't even consider them leftists. I think they're just disgusting people. I don't know what their ideology is. There's several people that just assumed I was a white person because of my skin complexion, and therefore I had no right. And that frustrated me. Those type of comments saying like, first of all, I'm an indigenous person. I'm mixed, but I'm an indigenous person. I mean, I have my status card. I've been to powwows. I have my dad like is from a reserve. I'm in a youth council, an indigenous youth council. My job is because I'm an indigenous person, because I'm an indigenous navigator. So knowing this about me, it's frustrating when I see someone online say, you are not this because your skin complexion is not what I expect it to be. Just recently, someone made fun of me because I was a left-leaning person, and this happens often. Lately, most of the arguments putting across from, especially a lot of left-leaning people, they usually get pronouns in bio, and I had to mention that. When I say to high school level teasing, uh, I see a lot of annoyance coming from both sides. People that are just ignorant, they call you names. This is just normal online. It doesn't matter what political side you're on, you're going to have a bunch of people that say rude things to you, make fun of you, how you look, all of this stuff. But this is something that I've seen a lot from the far right. For example, pronouns in bio, like I just said. This is something that always frustrates me because uh, even at the time, I thought, I got the impression that like having uh, certain pronouns was ridiculous. I even thought they was ridiculous at one point. I'm just so ashamed to even just bring that up. And it took me a lot to research things and to listen to other people. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. They're not listening to other people. And when the far right says they're into the marketplace of ideas, they're more understanding, they're more into research, they're more into listening to other people. When they say stuff like that, but then they turn around and say pronouns in bio, I don't want to listen to you, I find that very ridiculous, and it's very hypocritical. So pronouns in bio, they just assume, and this is what I got a lot actually. Well, if you're not trans, you shouldn't have your pronouns in bio. And then a lot of people that actually do put them, which this is exactly my point of view as to why I put them on there as well, is we want to normalize the pronouns. We want to make people aware that they're not alone in this. And it's actually a good thing because let's say if I mean, I have Miss Miranda here. I have a picture of myself. There's people that might have just an anime avatar. Who knows? And it's just a nice gesture, and it's interesting how they make it believe they make it out as if why are you putting pronouns in bio? It makes no sense. There's no big deal to it. But at the same time, it's still a big deal to them that they have to actually mention it as a way to not have a conversation with you. So it truly makes no sense. And it's childish. It's like, you're actually going to not have a conversation with someone because they have pronouns in bio. So I find that really interesting. But then they turn around and be like, oh, the right wants to debate. The left doesn't want to debate. The left is afraid of discussion. And it's like, are you guys listening to yourselves? It makes no sense. And the other one I get a lot is the blue hair. I just put on a wig. And it's interesting. Like, throughout my lifetime, putting wigs on is a pretty natural thing, right? It's like for a lot of people, there's people that go into cosplays, there's like Halloween, there's people that just love wearing them. There's a lot of Twitch streamers that wear them as well. But in their mind, having colorful hair is a sign of being a social justice warrior, and you're automatically someone who screams at the sky and all this other type of nonsense. But then they, at the same time, don't like it when people call them far right. They don't like it when you call their favorite YouTuber alt right. They don't like it when you call them racist. You don't like it when they don't like it when they're called Nazis. They don't like any of this stuff, and they say, "How dare you call me racist? How dare you call me transphobic? How dare you call me a Nazi? How dare you call my favorite YouTuber alt-right? Because you know what? That's not what we are, and I'm tired of left-leaning people. I'm tired of these leftists telling us that we're all like this." And it's like, okay, why would you say that, but at the same breath say, oh, blue hair SJW, I bet you believe in this. I bet you like this. You're all like this. And it's like, are you guys listening to yourselves? Seriously. They never have a valid argument either. Like, let's say if I say something about Tim Pool, let's say. The comment underneath I'm going to get is something like, oh, pronouns in bio. Oh my, blue hair at it again. Or, oh, you're so stupid, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, these are the type of arguments that they put in place. And it's like, how do I respond to that? I'm actually at a point where I gave up on speaking to these people. And I think everyone should too, because these are trolls. These are people that don't have, they don't want to have discussions at all. They really don't. They want to have discussions with people that have the same viewpoint as them because they want someone to, if I want to talk about Oasis, of course I'm going to be talking to someone who likes Oasis. But the difference about political mindsets is you can really get like really deep into it, and it's actually dangerous. It's not dangerous to listen to Oasis 100 times and talk to people that like the same type of music. But it's super dangerous to get involved with this whole mindset of your side is way better, and your side, I'm only going to listen to my side, and I'm not going to listen to you because you have this in your bio. You know how many people I tried having conversations with that had MAGA Trump in their bio? I didn't look at it and go, oh, MAGA, see you later, not going to talk to you. And it's like, no, I actually, I wanted to have a conversation with them. I wanted to see exactly what their point of view is. I wanted to understand it. I wanted to even try to debunk what they're saying to me. I was noticing it on my Twitter. I gave up, and I think everyone else should give up on anyone that starts an argumentation filled with just complete nonsense. If someone says pronouns in bio, ignore them. If you see someone mention your hair color or the way your face looks, ignore them. Or flag them down if you feel it's inappropriate, but do not engage with them. You know why? Because that's what they want. And it's a lot of people, this is the thing. We have this drive in us, and everyone has this. We feel we need to say something about it. We need to reply back to someone. It's hard to ignore when someone's being a an idiot towards you. It's hard to ignore. You see, even if you see something that, oh, you're so dumb. Obviously, this person is not racist. Like they're black. They can't be racist. It's such an easy. It's so easy to prove them wrong that you feel the need to say something because you're like, wow, this person's really, really pushing it. I can just immediately prove that in fact, Candace Owens can be racist. Let's say it's easily provable, and you want to do it. But if they're actually creating the conversation by calling you stupid, by calling you anything else, by mentioning pronouns, by mentioning your hair, by mentioning your face, how fat or skinny you are, how short or tall you are, they're not worth it because this is what they do to get attention. And they know it. They know that gets people's attention. So you just ignore it. And if it gets to the point where it's very harassment-wise, just flag them down. It's as simple as that. And there's actually truth to that. There's people that really, they just say, like I'm doing now. And because they're let's be honest here. If I was content with my life, if I was actually happy with who I am as a person and the life around me, would I really take time out of my day to sit down and just be like, you dumb fuck, you're so ugly, ha 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 ha, send? Would I really do that? No. I'm even having issues in my life right now, and I still wouldn't do that. So it takes a really depressed person, like someone that's really hollow inside themselves, missing something in their lives, to sit down in front of a computer and try to make other people feel bad. So just don't engage because they want that engagement. It's their way of reaching out to people. It's like a cry for help. Instead of actually getting help, they're going online and being like, haha, you dumb fuck. And then you reply to them and they're like, yes, I have something to talk about now. I can do more. Now, obviously, it's going to be a different story if they actually be violent on you and get in your face. It's completely different. You can't really ignore that. But people online, yeah, just ignore them because they're really looking for something. They're really looking for attention. And because they're probably missing it from somewhere else, so they feel like they have to get it somehow. And it's not a positive thing. If they really want, in my opinion, if they want some good attention, wouldn't they even post pictures of themselves? But to get people going, you're so pretty.